o'clock. I'll call the meeting of the Park and Recreation Committee to order. Roll call.
Mr. Baird, or Mrs. Baird, sorry.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Mansmith.
Here.
Mr. Ryder.
Here.
Mr. Soda.
Here.
All are present.
Okay, give everybody a moment to look through the minutes of our last meeting, which was February 26th. And then any changes, corrections? Otherwise, I'll obtain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Go on to the discussion items. Starting off with the adaptive play equipment for Eagle Park. We'll turn that over to Doug and his daughter.
Okay,
For an update on what you guys have.
go ahead, Em.
Regarding the Rumba, I would like to propose to that Eagle Park.
I think it kind of fits in with our budget. Money raised.
Does everyone know how much money she raised?
I don't believe I
No,
have that information,
I don't
so.
have that
Remember, you might
information.
tell them, if you take what the city had plus what you had in the Girl Scout council, this is your amount here. 4,000. Four.
So I have $4,682.23.
Wow.
And then if you want to tell that Mr. Ehrenberg's response was how much it would cost to have that with installation approximately.
So, like, the approximation or whatever, like, for like Seoul, when doing Rumba or whatever, is $4,000 to $6,000.
Let's go to, we could install this number to that number.
Oh, it'd actually be 2,251 to 4,251.
It sounds like you didn't get a specific number yet, but that's the range. So the top end of that range is within your budget.
Perfect.
What's our next steps on this?
I was gonna say, Mike, you wanna give a little bit on what you researched for equipment?
Well, the equipment that they were looking at was a wheelchair swing platform, and talking to the vendors that are out there, specifically one, they're not recommending going with this based on the swinging, and somebody could walk by and get hit with that, so they weren't recommending that system. The two other ones that we looked at was the merry-go-round. That would be fine. They're recommending a rubberized platform around that unit, and for all of these, they were recommending some type of rubberized platform for the wheelchair to actually get across, instead of across the grass, to get there.
Get to it.
So if you were looking at Eagle Park, I think if there's something we could get closer to the sidewalk, would reduce that cost down, and I wasn't sure about placement wherever you guys were thinking on that. At the lower end of the spectrum here is Rhythm 9 unit. That's something that would be feasible also. Again, some type of platform, or not a platform, but some type of walk surface, whether it's rubberized or even cement was a little more costly, or some type of paving across to get a wheelchair accessible to that. And really, to narrow down the price, it would be best if we kind of picked the unit and then a location so that I can really narrow down exactly installation cost and all that other stuff. Right now, we're just kind of given a range, okay?
I think when you measured it out and we're looking at, I think you weren't as concerned. The location we thought would be a decision the city might make of where in that place. She just tried to pick stuff that would fit in there. So I think whatever you think is best for that.
They, inside, you mean inside the, if you will,
Park perimeter.
the barrier part?
Yeah.
They didn't feel there was room for the merry-go-round in that particular area without taking something out.
That's the pre-existing area that's already there, right? You're talking about, like the playground that's already
Yeah,
there? Okay.
yeah, where the wood chips
just wanted to
are
make sure
and
that-
Yeah, so, we would probably have to look at something outside of that, scope. But the Rhythm 9, you know, that could almost be set just about anywhere, within, the park there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily have to be in that chip area, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. I would say whatever makes it most accessible, and if, because that range was a big range.
Yeah.
And she's got enough money for the marimba, that if it comes in lower, can they do a path that takes to a sidewalk or something to make it more accessible for the wheelchairs the whole way, so it's not just around that machine, but
Well-
that they can get to it?
We're gonna have to for to be ADA.
Yeah,
uh,
I think that's our thought, is if there's, you know, 'cause if it comes in a little bit less,
A little closer to that sidewalk, I think it would be
Yeah.
more beneficial for access.
Yeah,
They're getting out of their vehicle there, they're being able to go right to that area where that's at. I mean, it could literally be almost next to the sidewalk, I would
but you'd like to,
guess.
you don't wanna get too close
Right,
to
you
the
wanna
sidewalk,
be.
because you want them to
Yeah.
feel like they're
Yeah.
part of the park, and
Yep,
that there's something for them to do while other kids are playing on the equipment, so you don't wanna make it
Yep.
You don't wanna separate them.
separated.
You wanna keep them.
What I'm just saying is,
Close.
you know, depending on what your final price comes in, you're looking at going, well, if it's down around $3,000, then you have enough money, if you need to make the path
Exactly.
longer, it's there, it's
yeah. And if you go on the higher end with the merry-go-round, you know, the unit's already 6,500 plus, and then
we don't have the money for that, so.
Right.
yep, so I think if Doug or somebody could point me to a spot where you guys think,
Okay.
I can go ahead and contact a supplier.
I don't think it really matters where it goes, as long as.
How
it's
far,
far.
yeah,
So
I always give that option for input that,
I mean, I don't think that matters, that's just gonna hold it up.
you know,
Finding a place, just wherever it would fit in there
Okay.
makes sense.
how many feet do you think you'd want it off the sidewalk? We talked about too close, but yet in the park.
If you want, Mike, just,
10 feet?
I can give you my email, and I can just
Sure.
walk out there with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just get a group of us to out
Yeah,
there take a look.
I did the same thing with Howard,
Yeah.
is I dragged him down with
Yeah.
the swing sets down here at the thing and says, is the angle right? And he says, no, he moved it a quarter inch. I says, okay.
No, if it's like a
Yeah.
marriage of any kind, you always have to have the spouse there, or else they're gonna critique it afterwards.
Yep,
So if I'm there, I won't be critiquing you after.
yeah.
So let's get together on that.
Okay.
I'll get the pricing and we'll get that organized and together before our next meeting. Okay?
Sounds good.
Would it be cheaper to go with asphalt versus concrete?
Probably.
I would think, because we're only gonna have to probably do about a 6 foot wide
Yeah,
to allow for passage.
it's
on-
gotta be at least 5 feet wide.
Right, that's why I said 6, to allow
6
for
would
2
be better.
wheelchairs to
Yep.
pass.
Mhm.
So in a perfect world, if the asphalt comes in at a more affordable price and there's maybe extra dollars left over, is there another piece kind of similar to this price range that we might be able to add with it if we needed to?
I didn't look
Okay.
at any other.
Because I know there's a lot of other kind of what they call Soundgarden pieces that,
This is a little bit this is what Emma came back at for some ideas.
Sure, perfect.
So I ran with those.
and Emma, thanks so much for all the work on this,
Yes.
and
Yep.
it's been great.
Okay, let's look at getting out there right away then and figuring it out.
So
So
we just get together and then get the final, you'll help us get the final proposal then?
Yep, I'll do that.
Okay.
No
You don't have
problem.
to act on that, do we? You don't have to vote, or just
I
discussion?
thought we already voted, I think, for to have her proceed ahead with this project.
Correct.
And then she would come back with a report. So to speed this along is, we're still on that page, once we know a piece of equipment and then where we're gonna put it, should be able to proceed ahead and get it done right away. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything for Emma on this? No?
And you're,
Lori,
you're
we
saying
appreciate
probably the,
Help keeping track of the finances. We appreciate people being able to send money here. So some people want to send it to Girl Scouts and the troop took care of that, but it's nice chunk of it that the city was willing to,
probably the marimba.
yeah,
Yeah.
remember that was what Emma just asked for.
I'll take one of those and then pass it
Actually,
on.
that was your favorite instrument to start with, that one time I asked you. I said, what's your favorite of the three last year? And you said the marimba.
You guys are holding
So,
up, but what do we need to touch with?
you have anything else for us, Howard?
No, you don't have anything else? No, thank you for coming.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda is a bench donation. The Frank family has donated funds for 2 benches to go up at Barlow. You want to take one and pass it on, Dave?
Oh,
I know you're new.
I thought, yeah. Passing papers is very good.
And it's pretty much the same bench
Oh, I
like
see. Okay.
like we have up at Murray Park, where the Hop family honored Mr. Hop for his years of dedication to the youth baseball, softball program. So I'm under the understanding that the city has received the check already
We did.
for that? Okay, so then I'll get you the final stuff. The company turned around and unfortunately with COVID,
Company?
yeah, with COVID, had to shut down for a period of time, and they're back up and going now. So we will get them to get things released and get them up and
We
going.
discussed this before. Where's the location of it, where the place
We're
is gonna be?
gonna do it up by the ball diamond at Barlow, where Mrs. Frank had requested is where you have the center of the backstop by the concession stand. There's the wings off of each side of the backstop. They would like to have one on each side of that. People pull benches up there to sit and watch the games anyway, so why not have something that isn't gonna be dragged around? Because these are quite heavy because they're made out of recycled plastic, so works real nice.
Are these fastened to the ground, do you know, Howard?
These are not, but they are sending the brackets along with them in case we
Have issues?
want, well, in case we want to do that.
Okay.
And I was thinking if anything, we could drive down some
Yeah.
big stakes and with threads on the end,
Okay.
on the top, and do it that way. So I will get in touch with them and let them know. Does anybody have any questions on it? I thought it was very nice of the Frank family
Great.
to do that.
Okay.
Next one is the skateboard park repairs. You all should have gotten some photos of the damage from, well, it's mostly wear and tear. I mean,
It's out in the environment,
yep,
it happens.
we've had those for quite a few
I
years.
say realistically, in my time on this board, I don't ever remember us repairing anything at that
No.
facility right now, so to have some wear and tear like that, I think is pretty normal,
Mhm.
I would assume.
Do we
Yeah.
know do you remember the year that was installed?
It's been about 15
I would
years,
say, yeah, 10 or 15 years, so.
you know? David was a wee boy at the time.
It's well before I left town, yeah, it's probably at least 15.
Yeah. So, I think that's something we could look into getting repaired. We should have some funds in the Roundup program that we could use towards that.
I think I sent, I don't know if that was in here, Lori, we finally got the pricing for the boards. With shipping was, I think, just under 700.
683,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So, We would have to bring that in and then take the other boards off and cut them and drill the holes and all
Right.
that and get them installed. So,
I'd like to turn around and obtain a motion to go ahead with that and use the funds out of the roundup to cover that cost, seeing it is for parks.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? With none being said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And that should be a few weeks, I would assume, to get it.
well, that'll have to go to council for approval,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, that's what we're doing, we're removing it.
Yep, and then once that's approved,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll
But I
take,
mean, once, I was just checking to find out so we can kind of
yeah.
expedite it a little bit there. Okay. Next is the Kiwanis Hill lease agreement. Lori sent out copies of that. And this is dated 1990. So,
Typewriter?
Old school font, yeah,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
think they use, what is it, mimeograph,
Yeah, right.
or the spin one now? So Lori, I'll pass on to you, but,
Yep, I got the email from New Kiwanis Group, and I believe we have representatives here. They're requesting, I sent this to the city attorney, and he directed it to Park and Rec first, to see if this is something we want to continue to do, or not. So I'll let you guys.
you know, when it used to be a ski hill in that back there, it got used quite a bit. And since that time, why don't you guys step up, one of you, and kind of familiarize us on how much use it still gets,
Sure.
not just during the winter, but year-round?
So just to introduce myself, or each of us, I'm Brian Riley, I'm the president of the Ripon Noon Kiwanis, and this is Jolene Schatzinger. I'm gonna defer to Jolene since she is the co-chair for the Community Service Committee alongside Bill Neal, who had brought this up to the council.
Thanks for welcoming us here. And I have a sort of a statement that Bill did provide, and many of you know him, Bill Neal, longtime community member of Noon Kiwanis. And he talked about how his kids grew up going on the sledding hill. So for over the last 50 years, Kiwanis Park has provided many hours of outdoor recreation for generations of Riponites. The hill and trail at the base of the water tower was regarded in the 70s to create a community ski hill. In fact, it was community member and Kiwanian, as I understand it, Bill Mason Heights, that actually paid to have the hill regraded to be safe and appropriate for skiing and sledding. For several winters in the 80s, our Noon Kiwanis Club provided a rope tow and warming shed for the community youth to learn to ski. Ultimately, that became too much for our club to staff, running the tow, grooming, and even snowmaking. For the last decade, the hill has become our community winter sledding and boarding hill. During the rest of the year, the path at the base and the hill provides a natural walking path. In May 1990, the City Public Works Parks Master Plan, thank you, Lori, for forwarding that to the community members, recommendation was extensive and included improving Kiwanis Park as a nature preserve and winter sledding area for the community. So since this last formal lease with the city in 1986, our club has been maintaining the park for public use. We don't have official numbers of how many have used that, but anecdotally, it is often seen that families do use that. One thing I did notice is that it's no longer listed, I believe, on our city parks page. Now, it had been, so if there is a decline in using it, perhaps it's because the public isn't aware that that is still something that they can use. So we have, the Kiwanis has, we do have a proper sign, and with the help of the Key Club, which are high school students and community members, Kiwanis has maintained the trail into the park, so from right off of Thomas Street into the park. And up until recently, the city has helped by periodically mowing the hill and valley pathway. So our club is asking for, again, the city to help us maintain this path for the community, for mowing as needed. We do not need, necessarily a specific plan for when it needs to be mowed, although perhaps that would be nice. And we want to really work together to continue making it successful for all Riponites. And so basically, at the very minimum, because it is, one of the best sledding hills that public can use, it would be really helpful and necessary to have the grass mowed right before, that would be right before winter hits, before the first snowfall to be able to be used. Now, that being said, if you only do it once a year, that's going to be hard on the equipment. I assume the grass will be pretty tall. And also, it can be used, again, to walk for the community members. So periodically would be nice. And again, our commitment from our club is we have been maintaining that. Unfortunately, with COVID, it has been hard to get out there this spring to do that, but that is something that we are committed to, kind of that entrance way. So we look forward to your feedback. It is something, to be honest with you, the club didn't really realize the city had stopped mowing that, so it was a surprise. And we didn't, my understanding is we never did renew this because we always had a good working relationship with the city, so we didn't really feel a need to have a formal documentation on this.
So you're looking basically is to have the city mow it,
Yes,
and that's what the Kiwanis is asking for.
yes.
And that's the entrance on Thomas Street, right?
We do the entrance, so we actually do weed whacking and do the entrance. This is actually the entire hill.
The hill, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was kind of clarifying.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I mean, I gotta say, my wife said that they used to go sledding there when she was a kid, and she thought it was closed. She didn't know that
Yep.
it was accessible still
Right.
for our boys, so until they started skiing, we would go over to
The college.
Berlin. No, we'd go to Berlin.
Oh, there's a,
Yeah.
yeah.
Park
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, okay.
Most of the sledding that I've seen is at the college throughout the
Right.
years that
I
I've
mean,
been here.
we would've went there, but we didn't know that it was accessible or
Can you
open.
remind me what kind of signage is there?
We did have a Eagle Scout project just a couple years ago that put a new sign on the, was it Howard Street entrance? That was just within the last 2 or 3 years. It's a narrow path, but it's an easement that we have that gains access to the park. And then there was also another Eagle Scout project that did improvements on the trail itself leading to the park that improved the walkway there. So there is signage. It is relatively landlocked otherwise beyond that trail. But Bill Neal lives adjacent to the park, and so he has a view of the park, and he regularly reports on when it's being used in the winter, and he sees regular traffic there for sledders. And we're open to trying to get as much use of it as possible year-round, if it can be.
And I think there, at one time, there was maybe an entrance on the other side of it, I think, in that Mason
Right.
Heights area,
Yes.
when you're in, but I don't think that's been closed and probably hasn't been.
Yeah, I think part of that was because at one point, the area was larger and the club sold off a partial of that for development. And I think at one time, this is all anecdotal, but at one time, there was, one of the property owners allowed for a path into the park, but that they subsequently sold to a new owner that doesn't allow that anymore.
Thank you.
And again, we'll just add, we welcome it if you put it back on the city website. We don't know the conversation as to why it was taken off, but again, we welcome it to be used.
And we also understand too that there might be, financial reasons that the situation has changed, that we're open to explore what our options are for our relationship and partnership with the city.
And I think you really hit it on the head there, that what I found was we were mowing things that were not even the city's property. And nothing against the Kiwanis or any of that, but it goes beyond just, it was private things that we were mowing. And the city has been reduced to not having enough people and not enough money throughout the years, starting back since the levy and since Walker implemented the levy and all that stuff. So I wanted to skinny that up so I could utilize these people for maintaining our parks and our things that we are actually supposed to be doing. And that was part of that, and I didn't know it stopped when I came here. I thought it had stopped prior to that. So anytime we mow, sometimes we have to mow Sandmar because he doesn't do it. Well, finally he succumbed to that. That particular mower gets about $150 an hour for that. So that's kind of, when I took over, that's what I looked at, is a reduction in, are we
Outside.
doing the right thing? And we were significantly mowing things we shouldn't have been. I didn't know this was here, none of us, I don't know how, maybe you did.
I used to ski there when I was a kid.
So,
And I turned around and Bill Mason, his son John, and I associated, so it was a great place back then. Prior to the Kiwanis getting it, it actually belonged to the Boy Scouts. There was a Boy Scout house up on the south hill there, and that became in disarray, so that was taken down, but it was always a nice place. The access always came though off of the lower section. And I think that might be part of the problem with people not knowing that it's still there, is because that's been closed off. So they don't realize that it's still there, and you have to access it from, you know, the Thomas Howard Street corner area up there, so.
Is there still a gate up there on the Thomas Street
There is,
entrance?
yes.
Is it,
Yeah.
there
Oh,
is?
is it? I've never seen a gate up there.
to the water tower?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
But not to the path.
Right.
not to the path.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
correct.
To the
When we were
water
younger, we'd
tower.
Used
always,
to.
we always accessed at the bottom,
Mhm.
and there was, whoever owned that house that was closest, I think it's a yellow house, had given everyone permission to walk through there.
Right.
But I remember at the top there was being a gate that said keep out or whatever. I don't know if that's changed, I haven't seen it in a
Yeah.
long time, but
Well, that house a long time ago used to belong to former Mayor Bob Summers.
yes.
So that's where the access came through
Yeah.
for that, and I'm showing my age.
So am I, I work with that.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, I think it's probably a simple solution to at least get the information back on the website to say
Right.
that it's available to that. So Lori, if you could at least, you know, have somebody take a look into that when they're making an adjustment on the page, just to make sure it's back up on there,
Yeah.
that'd be great, I think, moving forward.
Now, is that something we could look at doing, mowing like once in the spring and then towards the end of October before we
Well,
put the.
what is our
you know,
liability entering private
Right.
property for
Right.
somebody?
That aspect? That's something Lud should look into.
I mean, spring is
Before we
very
move forward.
difficult.
Yeah, I would like to have that
time.
clarification before moving forward.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And if, at that point in time, we would probably be wise to come up with a new agreement, something a little more current than 1990. So, that's just my feeling. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel on that.
Just like, give me an idea of the size of the property, if you would do it at the rate that the mower is in, what kind of ballpark price are we looking at?
Is it about 8 acres, right? I think it's about 8 acres.
I don't know how many acres you can mow in an hour on a big mower like that, so.
About the size of Stewart Park behind Union. That's gotta be
Could be.
pretty close
I know
to
about
about the same size.
Somebody today at the department said something about when Kepler mowed it, he always had an issue with some slope. And the
Can understand.
tractor tipping
Yeah.
too much. I don't know, I've never, this is all hearsay.
there.
I hate to,
Sure, okay.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, if you just want to forward it to me,
Yeah.
that's fine, you know,
Well,
I
if
think
you
we need
just
to.
wait, I'll tell you.
I got all the time in the world.
Now, does the Kiwanis have any benches or stuff like that up there, or?
Not offhand, when I spoke with Bill on the phone the other day in preparation for the meeting, we had talked about that at one time we did have some receptacles, I think there might have been some other amenities up there that it's changed over the years that we could explore embellishing that again in the future.
Well, that might be a nice, another Eagle Scout project.
Absolutely.
To work into that. Get-
Like a bench coming in there would be like, okay, hey, this is a place that's open for the public, but, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know. And I think people get confused because you have to park on the street there, and there's not a whole lot of other parks except maybe Eagle that you gotta park on the street around here as well, so there's some confusion that might be there.
And
so.
that's something that coming into it, learning more about the park since becoming a member, that it surprised me that when they sold property for the development, that they didn't leave some sort of.
Easement,
Yeah.
that's right.
4.4 acres,
Okay.
but it looks like maybe a little over half is unmowable.
Okay.
I'm just guessing from piecing the puzzle together here.
Well, it is quite a slope to the south, the way that goes up there.
And to your question, Sandmar?
No, Stewart.
Stewart, thank you. See, I was close.
It started with an S,
Yes.
you're right there.
Are you guys at least comfortable with us just getting some legal kind of representation from Blood on that?
Absolutely.
I think it's good for both parties to do that.
Yes, absolutely. You bring up a very good point about the liability, and we want to, this is something that's privately owned, it's something we want the community to be able to use and share.
All right, well, let's look at bringing this back to our next meeting. It's not like anybody's gonna be sledding right away anyway. So, that way we'll give time to get a response from Ludd. And, Mike, I don't know if you've been up there at all, take a ride up there, I'll go up with you and we can
Last year, I was up there.
take a walk through and look at it and kind of get an idea. And bring it back.
Thank you.
And then invite you guys to come back to our next meeting for that. Normally we meet every other month, but I would like to meet next month, seeing we've been off for
I
a few
think that would
months.
be a good idea.
There's
Yep,
things,
a lot of progress.
things to take care of, so now that we can rock and roll. So do you guys have anything else you want to bring up regarding that?
Not that I can think of. I don't know if there's any kind of input that the city might be able to provide in suggestions of what we might be able to do for embellishments, or even to address landscaping that might make it easier to maintain, either on the Kiwanis side or in partnership with the city. Anything that we might be able to change or address, we'd welcome any suggestions, I think.
Great.
The access off of Thomas Street is rather narrow,
Yeah.
and could use extensive work. Now, I'm actually gonna walk down there. That doesn't mean we should do manual work. I think there's some things from a forced machinery that can come in there and help us with that and widen that out if that's the direction we wanted to go. They get about $180 an hour, but they can really rip the heck out of stuff.
Fresh hog.
Yeah, pretty much, and at our age, that's good. And so if we want to continue down that road, I think that's something we should tag on and get done, if we put that on our long-term plan, or find a way to find funds for that or
Right.
something, Howard, okay?
I mean, making it more noticeable and accessible is gonna help
I've not
people
walked
with,
down
with
there,
the park.
so.
'Cause like I say, once they closed off that bottom, that's when I really think a lot of people thought it was done, because that's the way that everybody always came into it, except for, some that lived up by the Roosevelt area would walk down and go through there, so.
I grew up my entire life in Ripon.
Mm-hmm.
It existed until I joined Kiwanis, so.
Let's say that property owner, that I currently do not have a relationship with, but that they are willing to, formally allow people to go through, would they then contact our city attorney, or to talk about this, or what would be something that we could suggest to them if we were to approach them? I don't even know if
Well,
it's appropriate.
My thought would be is that it's the Kiwanis' property. The easement access would have to be negotiated by you guys
Right.
and go from there. And then that's something you would have to bring to the city. Because we don't own it, so there's no sense in us
Right.
negotiating that aspect of it. So,
Well, thank you so much.
all right,
Thank you.
I'll look forward to moving forward with this. Okay, anything else on the Kiwanis Park? We'll move on to Horner Park. Got some things to hand out. Give them out. Back one, take that and pass it around. Amended agenda.
Thought she was handing me a pack.
Larry and I
I
talked.
didn't get that
Hey,
one.
I'm on top of things. Larry and I were thinking like this, you know, we were right on
Send
it.
that out, like, right before the meeting?
No, came out yesterday.
Okay, this was sent to our committee from council in looking to move forward. Mike and I had met with an MSA engineer to walk it, to see if it was feasible. It's been closed to vehicular traffic, the bridge has, because that much weight they determined was not safe, but it was fine for pedestrian and bicycle traffic to cross it like people have been doing. So we brought it here. I just did up a rough sketch. And basically what we want to do is make it so that there's a total of 4 parking stalls, so people don't have to be on the street. Because coming down Jackson Street with parking on the street really narrows that up there, and the same with Scott Street. So if we could give access to 4 parking stalls, we're actually just moving them in the roadway. A way of blocking them off would be, as I have marked here, with stop posts, which are like 6-inch posts filled with concrete buried there. Or the other option is the cement, what do they call this, stop? It's not really a curb, but you can anchor them in. That's another option there, with leaving the center open for the pedestrian bicycles to go through. The parking, spaces can easily just be painted, so people are aware of that aspect. And then putting another set of posts right up by the bridge to detour any person from driving up in there and trying, and you'll know the reason why I put those there
Shortly.
with the next item that I will have. And then we want to be good neighbors with Condon. Condon uses that driveway there for their trucks to pull in and out, parking wise and that. They've actually been using part of the city property when they've been driving on there, but our main thing is we turn around and move on the Scott Street side, move everything up towards the bridge a bit. There's still plenty of room to go up. We keep the road the width that it is, just in case someday somebody wins the lottery or whatever and we get some money where we can repair the bridge and then open it back up to vehicular traffic. That's an option. So this is really what we're looking at, is a temporary usage of it, but to be safe wise. Mike's crew has already been there and done some maintenance work on it. There was a hole that, before you got to the bridge, it just kept sucking everything through down to the creek, and they got that filled back in, and he's looking for a more permanent way of doing that.
Yes, correct.
So we wouldn't have to worry about that. There's a few cracks in the asphalt.
We did fill
You did those?
the one crack with some
The polymer.
patch mix today, and we also did move and clean the bridge. And we'll see if this,
Works for,
so we moved the center block out so that people can get around,
yep.
okay? If it goes blank, let me know, okay?
Okay.
So now we got room for a stroller or 2 people or a bike to be able to get around there where there wasn't before.
Mhm.
So, and there was a lot of debris that needed attention from the winter. So that has been changed today.
Very good day to do it. And like I say, you saw the pictures that he had there. I've had several people that live in that area that do not like the concrete barricades there. It looks let's be honest, kind of
Very
crummy,
formal.
crummy in a parking lot. That's why Mike and I had talked about
This was
The
something that
post.
was just inexpensive.
right, exactly. It was a quick fix and it worked,
Oopsie.
you know? So, and then,
Snowmobile.
whether we wanted to block off on the side by condoms and that, we could always, you know, find some rock or something to
So I
put
did
through
get
there.
pricing from Penises and R&R, and they're both at $100 a ton for stone. And a 3 foot, roughly a 3 foot size stone is about 1 to 1.25 ton. So my initial assessment or estimate, I was planning on 4 or 5 footers. Now, I don't know if we need
Yeah,
that big a
that-
one, but
I was actually thinking about 2 foot, because that's enough to mess up somebody's undercarriage. If they tried to, you know,
we can pick whatever
You know
size.
what I'm saying?
I know.
um,
So they are $100 a ton,
mhm.
no matter where, pretty much where you
Yep.
get them from, which is about $100 a piece
Or,
for the smaller size ones.
my other thought was, instead of that, would be to maybe plant some trees along there.
Yeah.
You know, we are or used to be a tree city, you know, that might be an option there.
But you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and that's gonna take a few years to grow.
Yeah, no.
So we're gonna have to have some kind of
Well,
solution.
exactly.
Right, no matter what.
But you may not need as many.
Right,
And like I say, the big thing is we wanna work with Condon, being a good neighbor.
I think if you block off that bridge, people aren't gonna drive through there. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, if
All we
it's
can
with-
do is,
if it's with pillars or stones,
mhm,
really don't matter. but
right.
Something,
And it may be that, you know, even if we just put like two more posts in here, might be just enough to detour anybody from coming on that side, which is the Condon side there, so. But this is just something that I just roughly did up so that everybody would have an idea, open everything for discussion.
I think it's a good start,
Mhm.
you know, and for maybe some more development down the road as well.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
and to creating a little bit of a better area there too, so I think it's a good way to go with it.
should have seen my original.
Right.
My original was was a covered bridge.
Well, yeah,
across,
I totally
you know, give it
understand,
that-
yeah.
That neat old fashioned look
It
down
would.
through there.
Need to be,
It would.
that'd be a
Yeah.
great thing down there,
Yeah.
to develop in
It's
there.
all funding.
Yep.
That's the whole thing, you know? So,
baby
but
steps maybe.
this was just something to get started with.
Is this an action that we can work on today, or is this just a discussion item for us?
Right now, it's a discussion item,
Okay.
and then we could turn around and make a motion to send it to council, but we don't have to rush, you know, for the next meeting. So it's really, you know, if you guys want to take this and digest it and think things over, you can bring it back to our next meeting and then act upon it. Or if you feel we should move quicker, we can do something now.
I'd just rather get it done.
I was gonna say, it's just some rocks, and
Some posts and some rocks.
we could go out and do it right.
I'd be fine with moving it ahead to council if we need be. At least make the recommendation to
Right.
move it on to council, to have a discussion on it, so.
And that's what council is looking for, some input from this committee, so.
So I will make a motion to recommend we send this on to council for discussion. How's that?
Okay, motion's been made for that. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to move this on to council. Any other discussion on it? With no other discussion, I will obtain a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will move this on to council.
Let me ask one question.
Don't do it. You ask questions, you didn't know. Just kidding.
Well,
No.
no, I just wanna make sure
Yeah,
here.
no.
Is the dam, is that is that side part of Horner Park?
I don't believe it is,
Okay,
as far back as I can remember.
so that's two entities, just a dam and Horner Park.
And then Hornet Park.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll explain later.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna pass these around. Mike was good enough to send these to me. We had some damage up at Murray Park on the soccer field last night. Someone decided to, those are all different views, so. It just seems like that happens every year.
It does happen every year.
I've repaired a baseball and a softball field in the last 2 years because of that aspect. People have done some stuff down there also. This is getting to be,
It's a recurring theme.
Yeah. and to be honest, you don't wanna gate our parks off.
No.
But the other alternative would be to come up with a cam system.
I was gonna say, I remember the police department at one time having some funds available or grants available to put some cameras in at Selfridge to keep an eye on some things, is that?
We actually put in deer
Trail
cameras,
trail
trail
cameras.
cameras
Trail
at
cameras.
Selfridge.
Mhm.
It's very, very difficult. We've had serial poopers that don't go in the right spot. In years past at Selfridge and Barlow, this year we've had that twice at Barlow, going in the sink. It's horrible. This is the second or third time I think I've had to deal with
This type of thing.
this at Barlow.
By Murray.
Yes, Murray.
Yeah, because they put the posts up and the
So,
barricade to stop after the, I
Mhm.
think there's been 4, like this 3 times in the baseball diamond since I
Yeah.
know.
with the new technologies that's out there, I looked over the weekend and there's some game cameras that are cellular. We get on the cellular plan, they'll shoot a picture every time a car comes
Mhm.
through. Hopefully can pick up the license plates. It's something that could be tried. We would have to post that it is under surveillance.
Right.
So it is a possibility. The cameras run $200 to $400 plus hooking up to the cellular service. Probably data plan, I think it's $5 or $10 a month.
Cutting
Well,
back
maybe-
does a camera system, it's $10 a month to
Yep,
go to your
same
webpage.
thing like that. It's exactly the same thing. So,
I can do it to your home.
I don't want to get
Yeah.
6,000 pictures
No.
to my phone.
Right.
Like we had an incident at Selfridge, with somebody throwing just lately a 350-gallon container into the water. We were able to obtain very good photos that were provided to the police department, and we have not been able to identify the
Individual.
individual, and it's a minor, so we can't release the pictures.
Mhm.
So, but we're still looking. This has been a problem with vehicles for forever.
Yeah, it pops up, it runs in
Something to
streets every now
consider.
and then.
Well, first, the sign is gonna be a deterrent, right? If we get a sign that says,
Right.
hey, you're under video surveillance whatsoever.
But we
that's
can't
just people.
falsify that either.
Right,
right,
Okay, we
right.
gotta
We
actually
gotta
put
have
something
it.
in.
Right.
You can't
Yep.
have fake cameras.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta actually be doing it. All
but, the repairs for what that is gonna be,
right. Well, it's
Considerably
about
larger than-
A little over $600.
right, so that's what,
Luckily,
3
it's
cams?
not during the season.
Right,
Mhm.
so,
Um,
I would say it'd be
They'd
something.
be starting up in what, a month and a half?
Soccer,
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
2 months, well, maybe 2 months, depending on how things
August.
See
go.
what we can get growing.
Yeah,
August.
that's where they practice.
yeah.
Yeah,
They don't get to go on angles all that often,
not on
except
the
for
college
games.
field at all?
No,
No,
No.
college is over there on.
and the JVs play their games down there.
And they
Yeah,
don't,
so I
they don't
think-
practice behind the high school, middle school, because football is so loud.
Yeah,
I mean, if they have to,
yeah,
they probably go
so,
from there, but.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna fix it, but it's still,
Time and money,
Yeah.
and stuff you
You're
don't
supposed to
plan on.
have 20, little kids out there.
Mhm.
Right,
and quite honestly, it disrupts it and it makes work for our crew when we could be doing something else.
Exactly.
how many cameras do you feel would be comfortable to cover that area? Is it just a single one?
I think
camera?
one to start
Is it
with,
several? Okay.
at the
Corner.
Somewhere's at the corner, yeah.
somewhere down in that corner when they're coming down.
You have to make sure that it's not where school traffic would be.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
farther down.
Yeah, I would say at that bend, right, coming
No,
down.
not
yeah.
bad, but
You
then,
wouldn't really-
I've seen them drive across the grass there too, so
Yeah.
anything's possible.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't want it during the evenings, once baseball get back up, you'd be getting.
I think that's one of those things
pictures
that you,
every
once
night.
you know there's an
want it more
incident,
for
you
like
review.
off hours, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can put them on timers. I
Right.
know, we've done that with our trail cameras for deer.
I haven't played with,
And
Or like you said, you don't have to really worry about reviewing
until
those
something
things.
happens,
Mhm.
you know, that would be the
You can
key.
get them to funnel somewhere in a file and not worry
Yeah.
about them
Right.
until
That's-
there's an
and then we can
incident,
go back.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what we do on some of our properties, it's like,
Right.
okay, you know, we
exactly.
know activity goes on, but if something happens, then we're
You
able
go
to
check
review
the
it.
Yeah,
date
it's,
and-
you know, when I was at the plant, you know, we put cameras up inside and it wasn't something we monitored until
something happened.
there was an issue.
Right.
And then we would go back and look at it, you know, and while I was against the cameras in the plant, it didn't matter, I had to put them in. Do what you're told. But it also protects the innocent people,
Exactly.
so.
Is that something then you're going to look into?
Well, we would need some type of funding to go ahead and
That's
do
the thing is,
something.
get some pricing.
I would say that's gonna be, you know, under $500, I would think would be adequate. You know, the
Yeah.
prices are coming down all the time.
Yeah,
Yep.
because of technology.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, so,
I know when I first bought my trail camera, it was $600.
yeah.
And then it was $20 a month for the internet
Mhm.
relay to it, and that's come way down,
Yep.
so.
And, you know, the camera could be moved as needed.
When you don't wanna keep it in the same spot all the time, because, you know,
You know, we could
That
just
would-
put up a regular game camera for now.
Yeah.
If that's the direction we wanted to go also, we want, you know, again, we're just checking it, like you said,
Yeah.
when there's an incident. We can do that, I mean.
we can start with that.
They're
I think
cheap,
that's probably,
under $100.
I think that's probably a good, and we would need a sign though, right?
Yes,
There should be signage, yes.
Okay.
Mhm, under surveillance,
and that should be put, I would say right where the fire hydrant is,
on the, little past the corner.
just past where you
Yeah.
turn to go into the school, there's a fire hydrant, you put it right there, people are gonna
Yeah.
be aware it's a nice open area, so they're gonna see that sign in that location. Because putting it at the top of the hill, you know, where you turn to come to the park, I think it would kind of get lost.
Put me down to, find out how many cameras we have,
Okay,
okay? And then I'll come back with a solution,
we'll go
okay?
from there.
Great.
Okay. Anything else on projects or updates?
Yeah. Okay, so why I asked about the dam was, as you may have noticed, we did get the swing sets in place and poured. Okay, so next steps will be to do some little landscaping there. We kind of got to do some fudging of that portion and seeding. So they will remain off limits because we're not going to put the swings up until we paint the arch, if you will. All right, so it's still a work in progress. I think nobody messed with them over the weekend, so I think we got a good thing going here, okay? So over the next month, I hope to have that completed, all right? Soccer field, we went through. Funding, so I've already overspent, can you believe that? When you don't have any funding in, it's hard not to do.
Revenue is down, yeah.
What was the last line?
Come on.
Spring toy repair. So on the last line, we are starting to see the degradation of our spring toys.
The rockers.
The rockers that are in the park, what happens is they've been there for how long, and the bolts that are coming out of the cement are starting to to rust off. You know, once in a while, you'll see a guy like Jason on there, and they just, they
The
don't
trail came
hold,
up, it will be.
so this is something that we're gonna have to start to repair down the road for those and assess those. So we do a monthly assessment on safety in the parks and for all of the stuff. So I put it on there so we don't lose track of it, and that's something that we're gonna have to address. Probably next year we'll pick some things
Something,
again,
yeah.
okay. But as you've seen, the funding's not coming. So it's dismal. We are getting some in. But we're also getting cancellations due to COVID, things like that. It's really due to COVID. There's, you know, and I am refunding everything because of the COVID. We have a 30-day, or we got something for a cancellation policy on that, but I don't think it's fair. I hope you guys agree.
Yep.
That we should be refunding due to the COVID
It's just something that's
problem.
beyond
So,
control, so.
yeah, and it's not really fair to the people that rent them and stuff. And so I took the liberty, you can scold me if you want, but it's the right thing to do.
What are the costs again for park usage, shelter usage?
Oh,
If anyone off the top of their head?
75 for a resident, and then.
yeah, 60,
Yeah.
60-ish for a resident and a little bit more. It's all on the website. And then we do require deposit now to make sure everything's put back and relatively cleaned up. We have not kept any deposits. We usually would say something. We did actually say something to somebody and just return their deposit, so.
Sometimes it's just educating someone.
It is, so,
And I mean, people don't realize it, but there's a lot of work involved on a day after a shelter
yep.
is scheduled for use for Tim and the guys to go up there and take care of that, so.
We continue to make park upgrades as we can. You want to talk about the volleyball?
Yep. Up at Barlow, there are 3 volleyball courts for sand volleyball. It's got a local volleyball group that used it last year. Had a local business donate a new net for that, and they came back in the end of April, I believe it was, and have a local quarry donating a finer beach sand for them. So they couldn't just dump it on there because a net has to be 7 foot. There's no way for us to raise the net height without putting new poles in. So what Mike and his crew were very gracious to do is they went and rolled it so it's flat.
They first rototilled it. Did you mention that?
Your guys?
No, you guys did.
No, we didn't.
The volunteer.
Some father thought it'd be good to go rototill it. So Mike's group went through and re-rolled it to pack it down. And what we're going to do is I'm gonna go up and lay out the dimensions, and then we're gonna come through and dig it out about 6 to 8 inches so that that's where the new beach sand will be, and it'll keep the height regulation for the net in that. So, but the Egberts is the ones that are donating the sand for it, and a group of the parents of the players are going to, we're gonna get together and get it all put in, and they can have a good summer. The 2 side courts right now do not have nets, but we're working on getting a couple of nets for those, so there would be 3 full courts up there. So the numbers for volleyball on the high school level are going up, considering most other sports are going down. So this is a good thing for for the summer, plus it gets the kids outside during this pandemic that we're still in, so.
We did also upgrade, not really upgrade, it was that we spotted out there, and sometimes I'll get a text from people, hey, this board's broke on here, and who will fix it. So those are getting fixed, so we continue to do those fixes because honestly, it needs it. We did also apply a pellet to diamonds 5 and 6.
The softball fields.
The softball fields, even when I had a daughter, I still have a daughter.
Just a little older, huh?
She's a little older, yes. Playing on there was always a weed problem in those, and I didn't do it because of that reason. But I knew it was a problem, so we applied these pellets to these sand areas on diamonds 5 and 6, and we worked them in. It's a 5-gallon container, $500. We did a whole 5 gallons on one field and on the other, so this is
And
supposed to keep the stuff down for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay, so I look at, can we put more money into using chemicals rather than labor? Because we just don't have either, but I'd rather have the labor, we can do some of these other things, so.
And these 2 fields were a good place to try it, to make sure how it's gonna work.
So it's a try. We also did spray the Barlow outer portion. An hour later, it rained.
I know. I saw your
So,
signs.
really what I'm saying is, we continue to work through these things that have been deferred. And anytime we can use labor to correct things, it's really better, I guess. If we can find funding, it'll be better too.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to be done.
Oh, exactly. And on top of that, I'll just throw out that there is going to be Ripon High School baseball up at Barlow in the month of July. We got the notification on Monday. We got the all clearance for that, so we'll be getting up there and getting the field all set and ready, so people will be able to come out and watch a little baseball. Because who knows what's gonna happen with Major League. So, anything else on that? I gotta get you a copy of that. Already taken care of.
Perfect, I love it.
Less for you to do.
Yeah.
Lori, did you have anything?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, suggestions for the agenda for the next meeting?
I do.
Did you give yours
I'd
first?
like to toss on our cancellation policies, so just have a discussion about it. We'll bring what we currently have and then what Lisa is proposing.
Park cancellation.
Park cancellation policy, we'd like to take a look at that and make sure it's what it should be for, so, okay?
Makes sense.
Anybody else have anything? Otherwise, Lori, I'd like to put down the disc golf course
Okay.
discussion. So, right. So otherwise, we have announced here that the next meeting will be Wednesday, August 26th, because that would have been the second one. It's actually going to be July, so that we can come back with,
We did, there's 5 Wednesdays in July, so was that the 29th, or would we do the 22nd?
Usually we're the 4th.
yeah,
So 22nd, okay.
Which day? The 29th?
22nd.
second.
Would that be
Okay,
here or
thank
in
you.
the park?
If the weather's nice, would you guys like to go up to a park? We used to always do that during the nice months and that.
Sure.
Which park would you like to go to?
Whichever one they're not scooping in.
At least Selfridge and Barlow.
Ceresco?
We haven't been to Fresco.
Yeah, let's go down to Ceresco. That way, even if it's raining, it's covered, there's a nice spot there. If it gets real bad, then we can always look and come back this way, so.
Sorry.
I like Dave's criteria.
I can't believe that.
Oh, yeah, so. All right, with that, I will obtain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made, is there a second? Dave will second it. Any other discussion, otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, we are adjourned.